Hello, Convergent Nation. My name is Jen Hilber, and I'd like to welcome you to our global event, CWC NOW, presented by Convergent Women Connect. I'm really excited about today's event. But first, what is Convergent Women Connect? Just a few years ago, a small group of ladies from around the globe got together to brainstorm on how we could better support the women of Convergent Nation and bring more females into the security industry, especially Convergent. Today, I'm really proud to lead that group of ladies in inspiring and celebrating Convergent women and helping develop leadership skills. This fosters our culture and our values and beliefs, and especially my favorite, V&B number 1, I am Convergent. Today is the first time that we're able to host Convergent Women Connect, this Convergent Women Connect event globally for all colleagues. So I'd like to introduce you to our ambassadors from around the globe, to our steering committee, who will talk about the initiatives that we have for 2021. Ambassador Shamika Warren will talk with a leadership panel, Women in Leadership. And our ambassador, Katie Goodman, will interview Yoruba Tate on inclusion and diversity. We'll close it out with one of our executive sponsors, Kathy Ingram. Now, I'd like to turn it over to our CEO, Ken Lociato, to kick us off. Thank you.
Welcome everyone to Convergent Women Connect Now, and want to thank each and every one of you from around the world for joining this conference. Couldn't be any more proud of you all coming together and wanting to thank you for all that you're doing to help Convergent and our customers around the world. You know, I was thinking it was just a year ago at this point, I was actually in India, and the pandemic was, still at that point relatively confined to China, and we were trying to figure out where this was all going. And when we look back after the past year and all that we've been through, I can't think of a better way to start the year than bringing the team together, taking this opportunity to come together and talk about leadership and the impact that Convergent Women Connect can have, how it ties with the growth and the future of our organization and where we want to take this. We're all disappointed that, so many things were disrupted last year, and certainly the conference that we had planned for you all to come together now and even this year, replacing the conference at this point with, a virtual meeting that, like everything, you make the best of it. And the fact that now we can bring people from around the world to participate in this as opposed to simply delegates. And I think the right answer is somewhere in between, and we'll look forward to certainly a year from now or a little over a year from now, bringing the team together from around the world to talk about our progress and where we want to go. It's really hard to believe what our company has achieved through the pandemic, and this year marks 20 years. And one of the things that with all the great success we've had, we know that we can be so much better. And we know that we're going to be so much better because of, not just because of the opportunity that is in front of our company from the growth standpoint, but recognizing how we've essentially achieved this with almost one arm tied behind our back. And what I mean by that is, if you look at across our demographics, about 17% of our makeup is female to male. So, we've done this, and that means that we haven't always recruited the very best talent that we can from industries and other industries around us. And we believe that by making the company more diverse over time and helping the company become more inclusive and grow, we're going to attract the talent that we need to be able to fully achieve the opportunity that is in front of us. And at the beginning of the year, we do sales reviews. We've just completed a series of reviews of the different vertical strategies that we have. And I can honestly tell you that the opportunity in front of us is just tremendous. It is, despite the pandemic, we were able to deliver a terrific year last year. And when we look to the future, there is so much opportunity. The only thing that will hold us back from achieving our full potential is having the talent that we need to resource and to meet those customer opportunities that are out there. And if we don't become a more inclusive company, if we don't recruit the very best talent out there, we won't be able to fully realize that. And that's why the mission of the Convergent Women Connect team to continue to allow us to grow the talent internally, to help us to be a more inclusive organization so we can recruit more people from outside our organization to help us. I think it is so important. And, it's 2 years now since it was, the idea was originally, put forward. We've made progress, but we have to make so much more progress. And, when we think of the opportunity now to not only to recruit and to bring more women to our organization, but help the women in our organization to reach their full potential, through leadership development, providing new opportunities. Let's face it, many of our colleagues have faced really unique challenges through the pandemic, but I think one of the biggest things that we've learned is how to work virtually, how to multitask, how many people have had to educate their kids during the day and keep them busy while you're trying to do their job and make, get it through the day, and how successful our company has been through that. So I think this is things that we have to think about. How are we going to think differently when the pandemic ends? And hopefully it's, we're closer to the end than the beginning now. And when we come back to the CTCs, how do we allow for flexibility? How do we be smarter through all this? I think these are things that you can help us with. Help us think through this, how we can help you achieve the full potential that you want to in your career while trying to live our values and beliefs, finding that balance in our lives that we all want. And I know none of us want to continue to work exclusively from home, that's for sure, or being on the front lines that many of our colleagues are. How do we find that right balance and go forward? I think that's going to be super important. How do we take like everything we do in our company where we set goals for ourselves, and sometimes they're aspirational, sometimes they're big challenges that we don't know exactly how we're going to get there, but we need to have some goals. And I think one of the goals from a women's standpoint is how do we take that number from 17% to whatever it should be? And I'm not exactly sure what the right answer should. So I don't want to today say it's going to be X percent, but I would love for the Convergent Women Connect to come back to us and say, here's where we think we can achieve over the next 4 to 5 years a growth standpoint from, bringing more of a balance to our organization. Is it 25%? Is it 30%? Is it 35%? I'm not sure, but I do know that if we focus on this and if we continue to make our company more inclusive, we will be able to attract the talent that we need, because we are a growth company. We have a tremendous culture. We're working on being more inclusive. We're working on being more flexible and understanding how to be, allow people to find that balance that I was just talking about. And I think, with your help, you're going to be dramatically impactful in helping us achieve the growth and the success that we want to be a stronger company, to be a better company even than we are right now, and to look to the future and have the opportunities that we're all looking for. So, thank you for participating in this conference. Thank you for the steering committee for the effort that they put into this. Thank you for all the colleagues that have, over the past year, that have had to find a balance and do many things that, we never would have thought we were doing, and do them in different ways, and being flexible, and ultimately, focusing on the customer always, and trying to be their best service provider, even through a pandemic. Go figure that one out, huh? None of us would have ever thought we would have had to say that word, but we did. And we're a better company now on the other side of this. And I know through your efforts, through the efforts that Yoruba is going to help from, driving, inclusion and awareness and training through our organization, through the efforts that Laura is driving with recruiting and continuing to recruit more people into our organization, not only female, but inclusion in general. I think it is diversity in general. It's just, we can move the needle in ways that we haven't even imagined. And this talent will be even that much better and raise the bar from where we are and allow us to do things that, we not long ago would have said, wow, how are we going to get there? And the answer is we're going to get there. We're going to get there by having the talent, the team, the leadership to achieve it. So, thank you. Thank you for all that you continue to do for Convergent. Thank you for, the impact you make for our customers, the impact you make to help other colleagues in our organization be better. And thank you for all the support in the communities. And, we'll look forward to doing this again in person, hopefully in the, in the early part of 2022. It's kind of crazy that we think about it that far off, but we'll be here before we know it. We're halfway through February, almost the end of February already at this point. And super excited about the conference and learning and seeing what you have to share and getting better from here. So thanks again. Appreciate it, and I'm going to turn it on now to the steering committee and I think some questions, some insights. So here we go. Thank you, everyone.
So my most memorable experience with Women Connect in 2020 centered around our Breast Cancer Awareness Month. There were so many creative ideas that were brought forward within our group to really motivate and stimulate that passion around the topic that affects so many of our colleagues.
Definitely breast cancer awareness was being part of Jennifer's team and being able to be given the opportunity to raise money for such a wonderful charity that obviously, I mean, it has affected a lot of people at some point in their life, and my life particularly.
I think most memorable for me for 2020 wasn't so much an event or something specific that happened. I think it was a thankfulness. I was just very thankful to be able to jump on a meeting and connect with these women and just have conversations. So I would say that's probably what was most important to me for 2020 with Women Connect.
Hello again, Convergent Nation. I'm Jen Hilber, and I've been with Convergent 11 years in various roles based in the New York office. The steering committee is the driving force behind Convergent Women Connect, and I'd like to start off by introducing you to these women. Erica DiStefano, Talent Acquisition Manager, located in Cincinnati, Ohio. Christy Zhang, Compliance Manager in Beijing, China. Chloe Leeper, Marketing Manager in Shanghai, China. Jennifer O'Hare, Account Executive in Dublin, Ireland. Heidi Rand, Vice President for Greater China. Kelly Shanks, Senior Account Executive from Dallas, Texas. Amber Sonstang, Marketing Specialist located in Anaheim, California. And Indigo Zhang, HR Director in Shanghai, China. In addition to the steering committee, each location around the globe has an ambassador that is like a bridge between their local CTC and the steering committee. Without all of these women volunteering their time and expertise for Convergent Women Connect, we would not have accomplished as many things as we have over the past few years. Our collaboration has enabled the initiatives that we bring to colleagues throughout the year. Today, you will hear from a few members of the steering committee on some of the initiatives we have planned for 2021.
Hello, my name is Jennifer O'Hare. I'm with Convergent 3 years, and I'm very privileged to look after the Breast Cancer Awareness Committee for Convergent Women Connect. Over the last 2 years, we've been working on various initiatives how we were going to raise money for this very worthy cause. Lots of people throughout the company have been affected by cancer, whether it's a friend or a family member. And currently we have staff going through treatment, and we have staff who have had treatment and have come out and they're fully healthy, and which is great to see. In 2019, we raised 25,000 as in Convergent Nation for this wonderful cause. But in 2020, we raised 60,000, which is just mind-blowing considering we're in the middle of a pandemic. Nobody was in their offices to arrange get-togethers, coffee mornings, etc. So this was just a phenomenal amount of money to raise. The committee had to think outside the box and think of different initiatives to share with all the various CTCs around the globe, and I think they did a fantastic job. All I can say is thank you to Convergent Nation for everything and all the money that was donated for this amazing cause, and we're hoping to make 2021 bigger and better by reaching a target of $100,000. If you would like to take part in this, please reach out to me, and we would love to hear your ideas and thoughts on how we can make this a spectacular event in October 2021. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Erica, and I'm excited to announce the Women Connect Network, a place where the women of Convergent can connect to the people and topics that matter most. We've created operational, strategic, and personal networks to support our female colleagues around the globe. Our operational networks connect colleagues who share similar roles or roles of potential interest. This is a great way to identify mentors, share best practices, and explore new career opportunities. Our strategic networks connect you with Convergent thought leaders and visionaries to support career development and strategic initiatives. And our personal networks are designed to connect female colleagues who share similar interests and life experiences. This is a great way to meet, support, and elevate other female colleagues. The Women Connect Network is now accepting volunteers to develop and lead new networks. Please contact the Women Connect Steering Committee to get involved and share your ideas. Thank you for your support.
Hi, my name's Kelly Shanks. I'm a senior account manager out of Dallas, Texas, and I've been with Convergent 15 years tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow's my anniversary. My committee is Day in the Life, and that committee is a group of very dedicated, dynamic women led by the incomparable Janice Burse, and we have our own Oprah-esque moderator, Shamika. I hope that you've attended some of our webinars over the past year. We strive to highlight women that are performing roles historically that are held by men, and they're killing it. We have highlighted some fantastic women doing some really great things in non-historical positions. Our objective is to open your eyes. Take your blinders off when it comes to your career path. Find something you love and do it. You work in an organization that supports that and advocates that for you. So we hope that we're bringing ideas to you with this committee. Our next webinar will be March the 23rd, and we're going to be highlighting the CAD and Design group. Now, I did mention that this is a group of really dynamic women, so this wasn't just enough for them. They had to come up with another initiative, and they've named that the Unsung Hero. We are looking for the people in your CTC or people that you work with across the nation that do that thing that nobody asked them to do. It's not part of their job description. They do it because it's the right thing. It's V&B number 3, integrity. It's what I do when nobody's looking. So please reach out to either myself, Janice Burse, or Shamika, or anybody that you might know on this committee when you know that someone has done something like that that we need to know about. We're going to highlight them probably in September. So there's your cliffhanger for that. That's really the best update I have for you at this time with Day in the Life. I will tell you that we meet every week. It's always cameras on, makeup or not, cameras are on, and we've really grown to respect one another. We have a wonderful time, and it's been wonderful seeing all of these women grow together. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Amber. When I joined the steering committee a year ago, we were planning the Convergent Women Connect annual conference taking place in Chicago. Things quickly changed with COVID, and we had to explore how we were going to host the event in the new world we're currently living in. We quickly moved into a virtual platform and remained committed to staying connected and supported the women of Convergent across the globe. With the continued support of our leadership and the marketing team, we were able to share updates with our customers and communities on what Convergent Women Connect is doing within our organization. We have displayed feature articles on our website as well as posting updates throughout our social media platforms, bringing even more exposure and awareness to all the great events we are celebrating this year and years to come. We look forward to the future of Convergent Women Connect, and we hope that today's message will inspire and encourage you to reach out to your local ambassadors on ways you can participate in future events. You can also join the Convergent Women Connect Teams channel by using code D2E75K or email the steering committee at convergentwomencsc@convergent.com.
Actually, Women's Day has occurred for well over a century. It's celebrated every year on March 8th. Nowadays, it's a global day and it's celebrating most part of the world. And this day is to commemorate and appreciate women's political, social, and economic achievements and outstanding contributions. The day also marks a call to action for celebrating women's equality. So on the special days, we should host a significant event or activities, not only to celebrate the special day, but also to raise awareness against the bias and action for equality. Right, so in APAC region, as proposed and agreed by all ambassadors, we are going to host a flower arrangement and design class in the afternoon of that day for all female colleagues. So because we think the flower represents women's beauty and elegance, and this is also a good time for each colleague to sit down and have an internal communication and discussions. So we were talking about like what we will introduce what's the Women's Connect and what we are doing and what's your challenges and problems in the life and work and how can we help with it, like this kind of questions. So, but of course, we will also invite some male colleagues to join us. So it could be a very happy time. But we know some regions they may not be able to host such a gathering event due to the pandemic restrictions. So we will set up online live chat for them and encourage our colleagues to share their own stories. Yeah, because we know this year's campaign thing is choose to challenge.
Thank you, Kelly, Jen, Amber, Erica, and Christy for sharing our plans for 2021. I'd also like to thank our champions and our executive sponsors for their participation throughout the year, as well as all of the local and regional leaders for their support. We recognize that running a business is a priority for Convergent, and supporting our colleagues to participate in Convergent Women Connect, really, you're just showing your support for our culture and our values. Thank you.
Participating on a committee for me has really helped me to grow my network and get out of my comfort zone professionally. Meeting new people is not something that comes naturally to me, so having a warm introduction, something in common right off the bat has been very valuable and helped me to better network within the company, understand where other people are coming from, and again, it's helped me grow in my career here at Convergent.
I got the opportunity to meet so many amazing ladies in our company, and also during the event, our female leadership shared about their successful stories in Korea.
Professionally, it affects me because I learn more about Convergent as a company. I learn more about my colleagues and how they work within their offices and within their industries and their positions. Personally, I think, again, it's just the confidence level that it gives you. It makes you feel more engaged and connected and confident so that you can do your job better.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'd like to introduce you to Katie Goodman, our keynote speaker. Katie's work in comedy has amassed over 3 million online views. She can be seen on Showtime, True TV, and more often than she'd like to admit, in line getting a mocha latte with extra whipped cream. Katie literally wrote the book on using improv comedy to improve your life, Improvisation for the Spirit. Her show plays off-Broadway. Her mix of and love of self-help and comedy lands her career somewhere in between Samantha Bee and Deepak Chopra. Her work has been celebrated by Ariana Huffington, Leslie Stahl, and Time Out New York, and her Pilates teacher in Brooklyn, who says she's getting better. Besides her own book, Katie's writing can be seen in O Magazine, the Huffington Post. Katie holds a degree in philosophy from the University of Pennsylvania, and she was nominated for the MacArthur Genius Grant for her work in theater. She got beat out by the astrophysicist who discovered the multi-phase liquid behavior of nuclei, but better luck next year. Through her training and speaking, Katie has taught over 10,000 people how to use the tools of improv comedy in their lives to handle absolutely anything, be more creative and courageous and confident. Katie is a working mom, and when she's not at home in New York City with her family, Katie can be found traveling the country, absent coronavirus, for speaking events, comedy shows, improvisation for life retreats, and her certification program training and workshops. Welcome, Katie.
Hi, you guys. Thank you, Jen. It's so great to meet all of you. How's your pandemic going, everybody? I'm hearing probably some sighs and eye rolls and maybe some, oh, fine. Some real frustration, maybe some ongoing sadness, or perhaps some whispers of, actually, mine is kind of good, but maybe you don't want to really like say that out loud. So all reactions are welcome today. They are all valid. So I'm an actor, an improviser, an educator, and a life coach, and I specialize in the unexpected. So the pandemic's been a lot of fun and work for me. I've spent my life looking at, practicing, and helping people handle the unexpected. And of course, we teach what we need to learn. So this has been, of course, an incredible learning experience for me as well. And what I want to be able to help you guys do today is to learn to thrive during change. And this isn't about being like a Pollyanna, like, oh, everything's so great. But the question is, how do we become comfortable and confident with change and the just generally, even outside of this time, the unpredictability of life? So today I'm going to teach you guys the 8 tools of improv comedy, and more importantly, how to apply them to your lives so that you can be confident, you can be flexible, creative, and you can really thrive. And I know that I think you guys were given the PDF, so you can take a little look at that if you like as we go here, or you can just hold on to that and take a look at it later. So as an improviser, I had this really weird job. So picture this. Here's what an average night in an improv comedy life looks like. You're standing on stage with a bunch of other actors. You're facing a large audience and you make things up. We had no script, no story outline. We had to listen carefully, stay very present. We had to give up any ideas of where the scene was headed. And this may sound for some of you like an exciting challenge, and for other people like this recurring nightmare that you have. And this was my job. But it was also a laboratory for the rest of my life. And what I found was that the skills required for improvisation are the same exact skills we need for any job and any relationship. So for 20 years, I've been talking about this and teaching workshops, and we're going to do some interactive, playful stuff today. I have a couple volunteers. You'll be able to do a few things at home as well. But before we go any further, I want you guys to look in your phone, or if you don't have it with you, just think about a photo of yourself on your that you love. It's got to be one that you love. Very often I see women take out their phone and they're like scrolling. It doesn't have to be a perfect photo, but there's something about it that gives you like energy or just makes you feel good about yourself. And I would love you to write in the chat. I think we have the chat enabled. One word. What were you feeling in this moment, in this photo? So like proud or confident or connected, maybe silly, like you looked hot, adventurous. Here we go. Happy, excited, confident, friendship, lovely. So these are things that we love and we want, and that's why we like this photo. Joy, I felt sassy, lovely word. Skinny, peaceful, a couple of peacefuls, and content, powerful, these are great, accomplished, renewed, great hair. Okay, so if you are not doing this right now and you want to do it later, just make sure you come up with one word and maybe favorite that picture, because these are the feelings that we want to make sure that we take back into our regular life, to bring into our present lives consistently. So favorite that picture or a couple of them and look at them frequently over the next week to remind yourself of what you want. Okay, so today I'm going to teach you the 8 skills that an improviser uses and how to apply these tools directly to our lives. And these are the skills that we all need in order to succeed in our work and in our relationships. And a lot of them you're already doing, but to give them a little bit more attention and to realize that this is going to carry over for you. Okay, so let me see. I'm going to share my screen here for a minute, and we will talk through the list of 8 just real quick, and then I'll go back and we'll do a little exercise on each of them. So are we good? Can you guys see? Okay. So the first one is stay present. So being present is incredibly important, both in improv and in anything that we're doing. Obviously, if you're not there in the room, you won't really be listening to the other people that you're either innovating with or working with. They won't feel connected to you. So being present is incredibly important. If you think too far ahead, you won't really see the opportunities for an idea that's right in front of you there. We're going to do an exercise on that in a minute. Number 2 is the yes and principle. So anyone who's done improv before has heard this. The yes and principle is the example we always use, which is like you're in an improv scene and someone says, hey, look at that pink elephant. And if you say, what pink elephant? What happens to the scene? It just dies, right? Energy gone, doesn't go anywhere. But if you say, yes, and it's standing on my mother-in-law, that gives it somewhere to go. So the yes means that you heard your friend's information or your coworkers' information, and the and is you adding something to it. You also don't want to just be a yes person where you're like, I like your idea. Yes, 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 yes. You want to add something to it. So that's why it's affirming and adding, yes, anding. Number 3, be flexible, spontaneous, and think on your feet. So if you hold on to like a way of doing something, you can't create anything new, right? And then we get left behind, especially in your field in innovation and technology and security. Look at all the obsolete technology, right? So kids are very flexible and often more flexible with new technology than someone my age, or I should just say me. And they take to new rules easily. So that's something we want to get back to. We want to practice that. So much of it is just having been in the habit of grooves of the way we do things. So we want to practice forcing ourselves a little bit, I don't mean in an obnoxious way, but to get out of those grooves so that we can be more flexible and think on our feet more. Again, what we're going to be learning today is all of these things. How do we practice them in a playful way outside of difficult things? So I don't want you to take these home and have this be the very first thing you try when you're asking for a raise, or the very first thing, when you get home talking with your spouse about a difficult conversation. Try them in playful, easy ways. And we'll talk more about that in a little while, how we can do that. And then we will be more confident and comfortable with them so that when something big does come up, like a pandemic, like anything tough, that it will be much easier for you because you'll have created new habits. Number 4, surrender attachment to a specific goal. This one's so hard for so many of us. So I'm pretty sure everybody on this call had some plan for this year that didn't involve being on Zoom calls all the time, or working from home with your children under your feet, or not traveling, or even much, much, much more difficult things. So this is, I believe, one of the most important practices that you can do. So it's about being open-minded, and so there's a great little Buddhist story where you have the image is just that you have a little bird in your hand. And to keep the bird there, you just gently hold it. You don't like hold the bird, right? You hold it, but it can fly away. So this image is that you have an idea, but if it's no longer working, like I'm going to be in my office or whatever from the pandemic, you let that idea fly away and a new one can land there. Okay, it's just a nice little image to help you remember that. So it should be light, held lightly. So you don't want to never have ideas, right? A friend of mine who's a coach worked with somebody, I think this is, she worked with somebody who was I can't remember what he was, an accountant or something, and he wanted to switch jobs and he didn't know what he wanted. And he started working with, he loved cars. And so he was like, but I don't want to buy a car. And long story short, they went to, car races. And he was like, but I don't like car races, but he wanted to go to the pit and like kind of check out the cars. Anyway, very long story short, he ended up being a metal sculptor. But you can't jump from accountant who likes cars to metal sculptor without all the things in between. So if he had been really attached to this idea, cars, he might have opened a car store and not ended up doing what he wanted to do. So it's this constant like surrendering attachment to specific goals, but holding ideas lightly. Number 5, take creative risks. Okay, we all know that without taking creative risks, nothing innovative can happen. And certainly true with the vaccines, and certainly true with just about everything in technology. But sometimes what we don't do is allow for this risk taking in a corporate culture, or in any culture, even in our family. So it's important that we create a culture as managers, bosses, but also as employees and team members, so that we support each other's creative ideas. This goes back to the yes and idea. You don't want it. Somebody has an idea, and even especially if they say something like, this isn't fully baked, but here's my idea. And you don't want to shoot things down. You want to yes and it. Yes, okay, I hear what you're trying to solve. It doesn't quite work. Let's keep going though in this direction for a little bit, that kind of thing. So encouraging taking creative risks so that we create a culture and a habit of creative risk taking. Number 6 is gag your inner critic. I believe you guys got a PDF on this that you can do at home. It's a worksheet on turning your inner critic into an inner coach. I'm going to save that because we're going to do a little bit on that later. But we all have a voice that keeps us from speaking up or trying things and from being authentic. And it's not helpful. So we're going to turn that into a coach that is helpful. Number 7, get lost. I love this one. There's this stage called the messy middle, right? You guys have probably heard that expression. And it's where we need to give ourselves just a little bit of time to be lost and not just rush to the solution. So that's what I was talking about with the metal worker. He gave himself time to try all these different things and not have to have the perfect answer right then, you know? So we're going to do, we're going to take a look at all different ways that we can practice being lost in a more comfortable way, so that when we are challenged with something bigger, it's easier. And the last one, and this is what everything leads toward, be authentic and creative. So this is really the end result of practicing all of these tools. So if you and your product or your solution are not creative and authentic, nobody's really going to want them. So using these first 7 tools are going to lead you to confidently create innovative, authentic results. And I'm going to talk a little bit more what I mean about authentic at that point a little bit later. Okay, so how do we gain confidence? And we're going to do an exercise in just a second, but just a fun little thing first. Oop, let's see. Confidence doesn't come just from power poses. I love this girl. Confidence comes from doing things. So you try something and you do or don't do it well, but you gain confidence because you're trying it again. So one of the tricks to maintain that general sense of like, I can do this, and this is about, anything we're trying right now, working at home or any of these things, you look back and you say, at one point I couldn't do X and now I can, whatever that might be. I mean, even like learning to type, something like that, simple. And what I know is that I will get better at it because I've been in this stage of learning before. So most of us right now, we're doing, most of us better than April or May at having learned all these new processes, including Zoom or whatever. So we've adapted for this pandemic. And this is one of the great skills that humans have capacity for. And you guys know that from innovation and technology. I mean, that's kind of what it's all about. So what we all have here, or what you all have here today in common, is that you want to make the world a better place. And the first step to that is making your company and your teams places where employees and clients can grow, where teams can be inspired, where you can support each other, and where we can all feel really confident in our careers. So working towards change in the world requires authenticity, courage, and creative risk taking by definition. So that's where the skills of improv come in. So, okay, we're going to go through these one at a time. So staying present. So take a peek at this picture, and I'd love you to put in the chat. I think I have to stop screen sharing in a second. I'll let you look at it for a second though. Put in the chat what you think this kid is thinking. So what is this kid thinking? First step first. Yeah, one step at a time. How am I going to get to the top? Scared. Ooh, an ant. I love Yes, exactly. They're so present, right? Oh, dear Lord, that's a lot of steps. Okay, so we've got two camps here. One is what I actually think this kid is thinking, and one is what I think we're thinking and we're projecting onto this kid. So the camp of like, there's an ant, one step, oh, this is fun. Maybe that's a high step, things like that. That's what's right in front of us, right? That's what's present. And then this other camp of like, oh my God, I have to get to the top. That's a lot of steps. And so those are all like kind of grown up thoughts that we're projecting onto this kid, right? Absolutely. We all have those thoughts as well. So really important to try to kind of suss out the difference in your life and when you're being present and when you're just like panicking and leaping ahead. So what we want to be able to do when we're present, we have a much better ability to be able to be like, oh, fun, challenging. I mean, we also might be scared. That's okay. That's present as well. But some of that is based on fear of the future, right? I'm not talking about like, bungee jumping. I'm talking about something that's more right in your life right now. So instead of trailing off into the future, we're going to try to practice being more present. And this is exactly the kind of thing that we want. The toddler doesn't like rationalize his time. Like, is this really worth my time? You know what I mean? So, and this is definitely what you want to cultivate during both your creative time and work time. Okay. So the next slide is the yes and rule. Okay, so remember, this is the one where you don't negate something. So when someone says, hey, look at that pink elephant, you say, yeah, he's standing on my mother or whatever. It's a yes and as opposed to no, so it can't go somewhere. So it does go somewhere. So when a coworker or teammate has a beginning of an idea, we don't want to shut it down, and we want to make sure that we support a culture, and everybody's involved in that, okay, from every job, of collaborating and working together. It requires an atmosphere where someone's not going to be afraid to bring in a half-baked idea and to start to talk about it, maybe as a group. Like, I think setting the stage so that people don't feel afraid of that. Things like, today guys, it's okay to have a half-baked idea. We're trying to come up with new ways of doing things, and nobody is expected to have the perfect idea in the beginning. We're going to do this together. If I give my half-baked idea, you add a little bit into that pot. Okay, so I would love you to fill in the blank in the chat. Hey, don't I know you from, something like Jose and Jenny's wedding or something silly? And then, yes, and that was the day when I blank. So I'm going to stop the share for a sec so I can see the chat. Okay, hey, I'll repeat it again because it went away for you. Hey, don't I know you from, and you guys fill in the blank. Central Park. Good. Hey, don't I know you from Central Park? And yes, that was the day I fell flat on my face. Church. Okay, good. You know what? I think I'll make it easier. I'm going to give you one. Hey, don't I know you from Jose and Jenny's wedding? And you guys just answer. Hey, don't I know you from Jose and Jenny's wedding? Yes, and that was the day when and you fill in the blank. Yes, that was the day when don't think too hard, guys. Just throw something in there. Won the lottery. Yes, that was the day I broke my heel. Good. Met my husband. Fell into the cake. Great. That's why I did the line dance. Got pregnant. Nice, Jenny. Fit into a size 6 dress. Oh, caught the bouquet. Met the CEO. Great. Okay, these are great. Exactly. So you don't want to think too hard. This is a yes and let's do one more. I'm going to just say it out loud. Mom, I forgot my blank. Mom, I forgot my homework, wallet, lunch, keys, glasses, water, my puppy, my mask. Yes, that happens in my house. My iPad charger. And think outside the box a little bit. Mom, Mom, I forgot my brain. Excellent. Yeah, exactly, Anna. That was what I was thinking. Just moving it. Once you come up with something, also you want to give yourself a chance to let your mind think a little bit further outside the box. Okay, super. You guys get this. There's really cool hobby in Japan. I think there's probably some people out there in Japan. I hope I'm getting this right, so please let me know if I'm not. But it's called Chindogu, I think, and it's the art of it's like an invention hobby. It's the art of inventing useless things, right? So it's funny stuff. Like I saw one that was like a hard hat with a suction cup, and you were suctioning it to the back of the subway so you could take a nap on the way home, right? So it's kind of a playful game for the mind. And there's a couple you might recognize. One is the selfie stick that actually came out of Chindogu. Another is a baby mop, where like they actually sell it on Amazon, where it's this cute little fuzzy outfit for a kid and they scooch along the floor. And anyway, they're just silly and they're not real. But what I love, except the selfie stick, but what I love about it is that Japan has, as you know, such an incredible history of innovation. And part of that, I think, comes from this mindset of just the fact that they have a hobby, a national hobby that is about inventions for no reason, right? So they respect the idea that invention, and they encourage it constantly. And just to work those brain cells. Another place that's interesting to me is Bali. Every single person in Bali has an art that they practice, either professionally or for fun. And so what that tells us is that every single person is able to be creative. And certainly in the US and but a lot of the West, that's not the way people think. They think creative people over here, arty people over here, non-arty people over there, but that's just absolutely not the case. So why would people in technology and security, and even just like a pandemic, need innovation? The obvious answer is that you guys are the ones coming up with solutions and new ideas and trying ways of doing things all the time. So these innovations come within the field. Usually, I'm always amazed by, carpenters come up with the most incredible inventions, obviously because they're doing it all day long, right? So you're practicing these tools every day. But the other reason to work together and grow together is that we need to be able to support each other's ideas on how we want to make changes and how to work better. So the next idea we want to talk about, and I'm going to, do I want to do this exercise now? I think I'm going to, yeah. Let me do this real quick. So can I have one volunteer? One of my gals, anyone? Sarah, maybe? Sarah Peters. I have a couple volunteers. Hi.
Hi there.
So, hello. So we're going to play this game, and you guys, you can do this at home around the dinner table or with a friend, or you can do it on Zoom, certainly, as we're doing it with another coworker. Sarah and I are going to play a game. It's an exercise called One Word Story. We each only get to say one word at a time, but we're making sentences together. So like the frog went to the store, that kind of thing. So if somebody could put in the chat a topic that we could talk about real quick. So a topic besides frogs. Great. Okay, cool. Ballet. Okay. All right. So Sarah, I'll start, and I'll just start with the word ballet, and then we're going to actually, I won't start with the word ballet. We're going to tell a story about a person and ballet. Those are the only rules. Okay. Yesterday,
I
went
to
the
store
and
bought
some
ballet
slippers, period.
Then
I
saw
a
horse
running
through
the
store.
And
it
ate
5
children. Okay, good. Okay, we will stop there. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, so actually, before you go, was that hard or easy?
It was hard because, that kind of, I guess that gag, right? I had something that popped up in my head and then immediately was like, don't say that, but.
Yes. your censor, right? Like your inner critic censoring it. Right, right. So happens to absolutely everybody, including improvisers 20 years later on stage. None that shall remain nameless here. So what got you from the gag or the block past it?
Long pauses.
I can't tell because we're on Zoom.
Pressure.
Well,
there's no right or wrong answer.
Great, great. So there's no right or wrong answer, but you also said pressure, but pressure can go in either direction, right? Pressure can shut us down and not let us get through it. So one of the things that I find that happens in my improv workshops when we're live and in person, I can see people's bodies a little better, is very often their eyes will go up or out thinking, which yours did a little bit only on the times when you paused. And what it is usually there's another thought going on, right? Like that's how our mind works. But when you just stayed looking at me, you were more present and I think you were probably picturing the story, like you're picturing the horse.
Yeah.
As opposed to the like, I don't have an idea, right? So it's super, super typical. Everybody does this. And again, like I said, even really experienced people have a version of that. Mine used to be when I'd be working in my improv troupe, that like these two guys in my troupe work really well together. And I was the third person to come into the scene. And I was always like, they don't really need me. They're doing great. So I would kind of hang back, and afterwards they were like, why didn't you come in? I was like, you guys are doing great. You didn't need me. They were like, we were just killing time until you got there. So like, you don't really know how valuable you are sometimes, you know? And so that inner critic is going to talk to you, which you said it did to you. It's so quick, right? Like that wasn't a lot of time that you paused, but it's still like, Sarah, you know, so you want to, bring your attention back to the present, and also, and we'll do this more later, use the stimulus and the stimulant to hook you back in. So what are the stimuli that in that situation? What are the things that are,
that are keeping you going, that are keeping the conversation going?
That are keeping you present instead of listening to your inner critic.
One, seeing you on the screen, seeing kind of that expectation of like, all right, continue the conversation.
Great. The other person, the other people in your staff room, the people in your family, what they're saying, and then the stimulus of the story that we were imaginatively like creating in this air bubble. Great. Okay, good. And then there's tons of other stimuli in our lives that we can use to hook us back in. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay, thank you. Good job. So, okay, back to my little screen share. So being flexible and spontaneous is just a quick little story. My dad was a doctor, and he used to travel between Native American towns when he was a resident, and huge, vast differences out west between distances. And one time his muffler broke, and because he was a doctor, what did he have in his car? He had cast making materials, and he put a cast on his muffler. So it's thinking on your feet, being flexible, trying to use, like we were talking about, the stimulus and what is actually available to you right that minute. Okay. That's what we just did. Anybody here an overachiever? You can admit it in the chat if you want to. So, you know, I think the thing is that our culture tells us that it's highly valuable to be an overachiever, but being an overachiever can also completely do us in because we become a perfectionist, right? So it leads to stress, it leads to burnout. It's not great for creative, innovative thinking. So how do we balance this overachieving tendency? Coming back to what I talked about earlier, which is being unattached to the goal. So Sarah did a good job of being unattached to the goal. She just kind of went where the story went. I don't think she had any idea there was going to be a horse eating children during it. Neither did I. And so this is also how we're constantly reinventing ourselves in our lives, right? So we've all changed cities. We're certainly reinventing ourselves right now through the pandemic and how we work. All these things, non-attachment is the basis of how we're going to be able to grow and move forward and come up with new ideas. I'm going to tell you a quick little story. we had this one scene. My husband is in my improv comedy troupe, and so we end up in scenes a lot together. But so we had this one time where the audience yells, "This takes place in a hospital," and so you have to go with what they give you, right? And I quickly run through some options in my head. This is, I'm telling you a story about non-attachment. So I'm thinking I'm in labor, or perhaps I'm back looking for the doctor who helped me last week. My, I don't know, gallbladder was stolen on the black market or something, and trying to get it back. So there's infinite possibilities. And the thing is, you have to also do what the other actor is doing as well. This is exactly like a staff meeting. And I know you guys, everybody on the planet has had frustrating staff meetings or team meetings. And beautiful ones. So let's try to figure out how to be non-attached so that we can have great ones. So suddenly in this story, I noticed that my husband Soren was standing there looking very confident. So I think, okay, he's probably the doctor or something. So I picked like the handsome doctor scenario of I met this doctor last week and I'm back to see him. And I say in this sultry voice, "Do you recognize this?" And I'm pointing at my nose. And I'm hoping he will, in my mind, I haven't said any of this out loud, but in my mind, I'm hoping he'll recognize the emergency surgery, that he did on my imaginary broken nose. Now, this is all happening very, very quickly, right? And you have to remember, he's also trying to come up with lots of possibilities, and he's planning in his head, and he's giving up ideas that he had previously had because they no longer will work. If he thinks I'm his mother or something and I'm sultry, that's like completely not going to work. So, so he gets present. He lets go of some of his ideas. He looks at me and thinks about the line that I just offered about my nose. And this is really funny. He shouts to the emergency room at large, "I've found it, the missing nose. It's over here. This nurse has stored it on her face." Completely ridiculous and bizarre. Nothing I ever could have imagined. So out goes my looking for the doctor who does my nose job, but I can still keep some of my ideas. That's the part I want you to hear. I still am sultry. I still think he's adorable. And I don't have to dump everything, but we move forward together. Does that make sense? So, maybe I'm this nurse who's willing to do anything for this doctor, right? So it was a completely absurd scene, absolutely hilarious. And really fun. And this is the process, guys, that we go through every single day. We encounter problems, we brainstorm solutions, we get ideas, we get attached to ideas, and then we have to move on from them. So on that note, I'm going to use all my volunteers right now, and we're going to do the storytelling choir. And let's see. And if somebody could put in the chat, I'm not sure exactly what time we started, so just let me know how much time I have left. Would be great, Hannah. Thank you. Okay, so how about I have all my volunteers come on? We're going to do a storytelling choir.
Hi.
Hello, Amy, Shirley. Is it Dania? Dania. And Nicole and Sarah again. Okay, super. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to tell a story, and you guys are going to tell part of it until I cut you off. I'll yell freeze, and then I'll say somebody else's name, and they have to pick up right where we left off, okay? No planning. You can't plan. Even if you get attached to ideas, you can't plan. Okay, so here we go. We're going to start with Nicole. Once upon a time, little Timmy was running through the terrifying forest when he came upon a
giant bear that was blocking his path, and he didn't know how to get around it. So he
freeze. Shirley.
So he charged ahead and clawed his way over the obstacle to freedom.
Freeze. Amy, to freedom.
And then ran up the hill and eventually got onto the road away from the bear.
Keep going.
And then he tried to hail down a car to help him.
Freeze. Sarah.
But lo and behold, there was another bear in the car. He hopped in the back of the car.
Freeze. Dania.
And the driver bear was going really fast because he felt like, oh, this bear coming out of the woods, some emergency is happening, and he asks the bear in the back seat.
Nicole?
And so the boy was hiding in the back seat, trying to stay out of view from the hungry bear in the driver's seat, thinking that he didn't want to get eaten.
Ah, praise, Shirley. Shirley.
He's thinking he didn't want to get eaten, and so he unrolled the window and started to jump out to freedom.
Phrase and wrap it up, Sarah.
He jumped out the window and started running. The bear quickly followed, but then he remembered he had a sandwich in his pocket. He threw it at the bear, and everything just kind of calmed down. The bear was fed, the boy was free.
Super. Good job, you guys. Awesome. Really good, not like jumping ahead or veering off because you weren't listening, like really good listening. You guys could put in the chat what they did really well. I thought also, well, how was it for you? Was it easy, hard, fun, crazy?
Fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
You tend to judge yourself a lot. And we're like, oh, did I say, was it okay? Was it funny? Was it not funny?
Right, right.
Yeah.
I want to tell you guys something interesting. The difference between a brand new improvising group that has a bad show, after the show, they all go, they're like, okay, bye guys, see you at rehearsal next week. And 10 years later, after really experienced, you have a bad show, you're like, oh, that was terrible, huh? Let's go get a drink. Like that, it's not like you stop having bad experiences. You just don't feel bad about it. I mean, you have definitely less bad experiences because you know how to get yourself out of it and you're practicing these tools, but there is a lot to be said about the inner critic part. Okay, I'm going to let you guys go. And thank you so much. Yay. You can read the chat. People are saying nice things about you. Okay, just a couple more things here. I want to give you a couple exercises to take home, and then I want to wrap this up. You guys were sent the inner critic worksheet, and we don't have time for that today, although we might do a workshop on that this summer, possibly. And Jen, we can tell them whatever you want to tell them about that. But it's a great exercise to try to talk through the inner critic and figure out why this crazy thing even exists. Basically it's to protect you, but it's doing a lousy job. And so you want to turn it into a coach. So make sure you have that download. And then I want to give you guys one more thing to, let's see. I want to give you guys one more thing. And I think probably I'm going to let you just take this to your team meetings and do it there together instead of here. Okay. So I'm going to type into the chat 5 words. This is called, for lack of a more exciting title, 5-word monologue. And I'm giving you 5 completely random words. You can do this yourself, just making them up. Purple, school, jumping jacks, wishy-washy, puppy. And what you want to do with this is you have no time to plan whatsoever. Oops, sorry. I sent that only to Hannah. You have no time whatsoever to plan. And what you do is I can't send it here. I'll do it. Can you do it for me, Hannah? Thanks. And what you do, I'll just say them again: purple, school, jumping jacks, wishy-washy, puppy. And what you do is you're going to tell a story. It can be a story as you, it can be funny, it can be not funny, but it has to take a minute and a half to tell it, no time to plan it, and you have to get all the words in and not in order. Like, don't try to just zip them all into the first sentence. So that's the stimulus we were talking about before. And this is a way to practice all these tools all at once. It's a really fun exercise. It's a great way to start a team meeting or some kind of any kind of event icebreaker sort of thing. Really, really fun. It's fun to hear what everybody else says. You also could have everybody have a different set of words. And then allow yourself to take some creative risks with it a little bit. Obviously not inappropriate, but like for work, but to allow yourself to branch out and not have it be just the most obvious story that would go with those words. Like I found a puppy on my way to school, but something else, like letting your imagination reach a little bit more. But you have no time to plan. You're actually saying this out loud in front of each other, or you're writing it and then reading it. Okay, so lots and lots of other exercise I could give you, and I'm happy to send you guys some fun ideas through Jen if you want. And I think one of the last two things I want to leave you with, I'm going to just share my screen again, is the art of getting lost is so, oops, I'm going to tell you about that one in 1 second. The art of getting lost is so important. So how can we practice being lost so we're more comfortable in the unknown? You know, there's tons and tons of ways. You can go into a bookstore and instead of going straight for the mystery section like you always do, just let your eye wander. And, you know, you can ask later, like, why did I end up at the male bodybuilding section? I don't know. But letting yourself just wander. And the reason for allowing yourself to get lost and try new things is it helps you shed sort of an old skin and see who you are now, because you're constantly changing. It's not like one day, now I'm me, I'm authentically me, and then you hold on to it forever. Unfortunately, it just doesn't work like that. I guess that would be boring, so not unfortunately. But it helps you become the new iteration of yourself by practicing being lost. There's so many ways. Watching a kind of a movie you would never have done before. Wandering in your neighborhood to somewhere, especially now that we're home and we're honestly trying new things during this time of kind of being in the same rut all the time is really, really vital to self-care as well. You know, meeting a new neighbor through the window, I guess, or far on the sidewalk, trying something new, like on a menu, you know, if you're doing takeout or cooking, learning to cook, something like that. I learned to paint. I've never painted before in my life, and I've been painting for a year now. It's like my favorite new thing. So literally just wander through your life, learn some new things, which will, of course, lead to being authentic. This picture is sort of the opposite of that, but I just love that little guy so much. So I think the trick is, guys, we have to figure out who we are, right? So I'm going to do a funny, and you're going to think it's weird for a second, but I'll explain it. Little exercise in closing. Let's see. Don't put this in the chat because I want you to know I'm not reading it, okay? So I want you to fill in the blank. Katie Goodman, me, Katie Goodman is blank, blank, and blank. 3 things. And not like, you know, redhead, tall, you know, more like an emotional thing, you know, loud, whatever. Blank, blank, and blank. They can be positive or negative. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to see it. Take a second just to actually write them down. I need you to write them down somewhere for you. You can put it in the chat and I won't look. Okay, so I played a little trick on you. This is not about you. Sorry, this is not about me. This is about you. This is a projection exercise. I've done this exercise with over 10,000 people, and the number of words are probably up to 1,000 by now. So there's some crossover. Nobody's like Katie Goodman's a wallflower, you know, but if the things that people write down, again, it's really about you. It is either who you are already, what you value in others, or what you want in life. So for example, Angela wrote joyful, interesting, and animated. So Angela, those are either things that you are, that you value, or that you want to be, right? You didn't pick, I don't know, people have even over the years picked like rich or like weird things like that they wouldn't even know about me, but you know, like fast runner, like that was one. I was like, well, really? That's not true. So things that you value. And the reason that it's important for you to know what your projections on other people are, you can do this with celebrities or, you know, politicians or whatever you want. And it can, and also, by the way, if you wrote bad things, those are about you too. So those are things that you either are worried you are or you don't want to be, things like that. So it's really important for you to figure these out because you are projecting all the time. And that's kind of your authentic self. It's so when you're projecting these words, like Angela said, joyful rather than, I don't know, overworked and exhausted, right? You know, depending on the day, that's me too. But she picked that. So that's either something she wants, something she is, or something she values. And just take a peek at that, because as you're changing during all this time and you're trying new innovative things, those are really important for you. You want your life to be animated, joyful, and interesting. Charity wants, or maybe wants life to be spunky, witty, and true, like honest or true. And those are, keep that little post-it that you wrote that on around for you. So guys, going forward, I want to just encourage you, and I'm sorry I've gone over a couple minutes, but I just want to encourage you to try some of these exercises at home around the dinner table or with your team or just with a friend or even with some kids. And you can do one word story or the story choir or the fill in the blank type stuff. You can do this on your own, those 5 words, just randomly pick 5 words out of the newspaper and write a journal entry. Try it with a group. It doesn't have to be comedy at all. It could just be like a way to think and work differently. And what will happen at the beginning, if you do this at the beginning of a creative process or like a team meeting, it's going to get you into your right brain a little bit more. So you might walk into like, oh, logistics, we've got the agenda, we have to figure all these things out. I'm exhausted. How did I have to get my kid dealt with in the other room on their Zoom school while I'm doing this. And that's not a great, none of that is a great place. Like logistics isn't the best place to come up with innovation and pivoting, problem solving. You need those, obviously, you need your left brain, but your right brain is really where the good juicy stuff's going to come from, and the joy too, and the fun. So that is a great thing to do at the beginning. It just gets that part of your brain online for the rest of the time. And you're gonna see better results because of it as well. So before we close, I just want to connect with you who those of you who would like to connect more. I think I'm gonna do another workshop with you guys this summer, which will be a little bit even more interactive. We're gonna do Jen and I talked about doing a fun thing where we have this program where you can have little icons and you can go into little rooms and do an exercise in the room with each other with videos. It's really fun and cute. It's almost not a video game, but it's a really fun, like when we can't be together, it's the next best thing. It's called Gather, and it's really fun. And then I am happy to, if anybody wants to reach out, I'm actually starting a coaching group online tomorrow. So feel free, just info@katiegoodman.com. But and oh yeah, and I'll just put this up on the screen. So if you guys want to get on our mailing list and hear about any comedy or any of that stuff, you can. You just text the word Katie to the number 33777, and I will send you some stuff. But just in closing, I just want to say that learning to get comfortable taking risks in our lives is going to allow us the chance to do and become like who we really want to be very authentically. So we don't end up just trying to appease some cultural idea of who we are, or even the culture of the team that we're in. We want to be able to be authentic while still working well with others, and we all have to adapt and change to everything that's going on right now. And the collaboration and the mutual support among us is going to bring about, much better creativity, much more fun, less stress, and the changes, it's going to be much, much more effective. And like I said, you're going to come up with much better results. So I hope you guys that this will continue for your whole life and enjoy it. You're going to keep changing whether we want to or not. So whenever I go through some kind of metamorphosis, I always get kind of excited and that doesn't mean it's not hard, but kind of excited for what the next iteration is going to be. And even if I'm struggling and I'm unsure of exactly what's coming next or where I'm headed, I've found that the enjoyment of the playfulness and the possibilities is really energizing, which I think is something we really need right now. And there's just great joy in changing and growing into the next phase of your authentic self. And the trick is to give yourself permission to explore it. Thank you so much, you guys. It was really great to meet you. And thanks to our volunteers for playing. And I hope to get to see you guys this summer or even live next winter sometime. Thank you.
Hello, Convergent Nation. I want to take time out to thank Katie Goodman for that wonderful segment. My name is Shamika Warren. I'm a project manager with the financial vertical here at Convergent. And I want to welcome you to our Women in Leadership panel. We have Andrea Rundle, who is the financial director of EMEA in Europe and Ireland. And we also have Amy Nichols, the General Manager in Upstate New York. Thank you, ladies, for taking out time to speak with us today. I want to just go ahead and roll right into it. And the first thing I always like to ask is, how did you get into this industry? So Andrea, could you let us know how you found your way to Convergent?
Okay, so basically, I suppose I might as well go right back to the beginning. In my teens, I always wanted to be a teacher. And I was living in Ireland at the time, and we were going through a major recession. So I remember turning to my dad at the time and saying, God, he was made redundant, and I was a bit concerned. And I said to him, I want to make sure I'm in a job that's kind of pretty much guaranteed for life. And he laughed at me at the time and said, okay, yeah, that'll be death and or taxes. And I said, okay, so I can be an undertaker or an accountant, basically, is what you're telling me. So scrap the teaching. And he went, yeah. So that's why I got into finance. Hence, I'm now the finance director for Europe. And I've literally, over the years, I've traveled to different places. I spent 20 years, actually 17 years in the UK and 3 years in America. And then I came back to Ireland about 11 years ago. So I left in the recession and I came back in the recession, only I had 20 years experience under my belt. So I went to work for Stanley Security. I come from an engineering company background, so similar business model. So I went from Stanley and then into a company called MTS 6 years later, and then they were taken over from Convergent. So I've been with Convergent now for 2 years.
Awesome. That's very funny. Taxes and death. We've all heard that. What about you, Amy? How did you find your way to Convergent in this industry?
I started in this industry many years ago as a service manager at a different company, and eventually progressed into the branch manager role, and over the years progressed into a general manager role in progressively larger district offices and taking on additional responsibility. I came to Convergent about a year and a half ago, July 2019, as the general manager for upstate New York, and I absolutely love this industry. The people that we work with are so passionate about what they do and professional, and Convergent is just a great company. I feel very blessed to be here.
That's great. I actually got my start in service as well. I started in a telecommunications company. I worked for an internet company, and then I came into Convergent. Well, not Convergent. I came into a smaller company that was a systems integrator. Had no clue what the industry was about, and I just kind of paid attention to what was happening in service, which is actually, you're the face of the company when you're in service. So I worked with the technicians, I learned about the industry, and once we were acquired by Convergent, I moved into operations. So I've done a little bit of everything, but service, I always say that, you got to give it up to service. They bear the brunt of, the customers, and they have to sit there and represent the company in the best light possible. So that's great to know that you've moved up and moved throughout the company that way. Andrea, I have an easier question for you. What is it that we can find you doing on Sundays at 10 a.m.?
Okay, this is my favorite time of the week. This is at 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning. Typically, I'd be donning on my wetsuit to head out to the I'm going to say stormy seas because it's the Irish Sea. So, from one week to the next, it can be very windy. It can be rainy. You might even get a bit of snow, which we've had in the last couple of weeks. So typically I'm getting my wetsuit on and I'm heading out to swim snorkel actually, with the seals. So yeah, certainly challenging, but it's a great way to clear my head. I call it my food for the soul. The job can be quite stressful. Every week it's my time. I need to get out there. Scary, there's no doubt about it. I went in there just this weekend, and again, there was a lot of waves, and there's certain parts of the coast I couldn't go in. So I went around the harbour. There's a lot of swells, and I didn't see any seals this weekend, shamefully. Normally they're at my feet. They're about, maybe I'd say about 1 or 2 feet away from me. So it's It's a great way of just, like I said, it's a stress buster, and it's my time out.
I love it. Oh my gosh. That sounds so fun, except for the snow part. I'm not a fan of snow unless I'm sitting inside and watching it. If it's snowing and I have coffee or cocoa and I'm watching it fall, I'm fine. That's why I moved south. I grew up in the Midwest and I live in the South now. Amy, since Andrea has told us what her stress buster is, what do you do to relieve stress? I'm sure you have a very stressful job as well.
I find my best stress relief is spending time with my grandchildren. They exhaust me, but they also keep me young. They're just amazing little creatures, and I enjoy. There's nothing better than seeing them running up my front walkway, yelling "Mimi, Mimi, Mimi," and wrapping themselves around my legs. It just kind of makes everything else melt away, and it's priceless.
Oh, that's so sweet. I'm sure that would be a nice little stress buster. For myself, I craft. I'm into embroidery and sublimation printing and making t-shirts, and that's what I do when I have the time. Question for you, Andrea. What advice would you give to women entering a male-dominated profession?
Okay, so I'd say the first thing I would say is embrace it. I think, you know, the world has changed a lot from when I first entered into the working world. I mean, I'm in a profession that was, you know, I joined in the late 80s. It was very male dominated. It still quite is, actually. Finance is a lot of male counterparts. And then the industries I've worked for was financial services, engineering, and obviously the security. Again, it's you've got to embrace it. The world has really changed. What I will say is we offer a very different dynamic to the team. I think women complement the men in a team. Because we've had to strive to get our positions and recognition, we've set very high standards. And I know one of my old bosses back in the day would have said he loves working with women. He said, you know, your standards are high because you've had to prove yourself. So what I'd say to the ladies out there is keep that standard. Find your niche and know what your strength is. You know, we all have a calling in life, no matter what it is. Know what it is, own it, and embrace the fact that you're going to have you do need to treat men and women differently. How you communicate, how you build the relationships, it is very different. What I will remind everyone is, and it's something I've always found, is when you come into a room sometimes, and it can be a little daunting, you go into a room, and I've done it many times over the years, all my peers are all male. And what I would say is, don't be scared of that. You know, you will come with something to the table to complement whatever that is. Like I said, we set high standards. If there's tension in the room, women can offer, like I said, they can offer, I'd call it tempering the mood slightly if there is tension, because we think differently, we operate differently. So my one advice is embrace it and keep that standard.
Very good advice, Andrea. I'll take that to heart. I did notice that Amy was agreeing with you as you were speaking. So I was going to ask her what she had to offer for the next generation of female leaders, but maybe she could take a crack at both of them. Amy?
I think Andrea had some very, very good points. Particularly made me think of a story in my career and some advice that my mother gave me early on in life, which is throughout your life, there will be things that you need or want to do, and you won't always have someone there with you to do them with, whether it's personal or professional. I remember back when I first started as a service manager attending my first field managers meeting, and I knew probably 4 people that were going to be at the initial reception. And There were probably 500 people at this event, and I think there were probably 4 women, and I was one. And I'd been with the company for like 2 months. And as I was walking down the hotel hallway, approaching the ballroom, the noise, the roar got louder and louder. It was like a wall. And I just remember thinking, oh my, wow, this is scary. This is scary. And I just drew upon that advice that my mother gave me and just took a deep breath and sucked it up and told myself, you can do this, and opened up the door to the sea of noise, and I made it through. So.
Awesome, Amy. It kind of reminds me of that saying where they say, you know, it's okay to be afraid, do it anyway. So it's like, you know, do it afraid. And I've had to do that plenty of times. I get up and speak, you know, I get nervous speaking in front of others, and people say that they can't notice it, but I notice it. I do it afraid because it's you have a voice and someone needs to hear it. So that goes back to what, you know, Andrea says, that, you know, it's okay to be different. We need differences and different points of views. You know, even though I don't physically go out in the field and turn a screwdriver, I have valuable information and valuable skill sets that I can offer, you know, to operations, to Convergent, to the industry. So that's all good information, and embracing differences. Because, you know, we're not just one person in the company, we're a company of different people, or industry of different people. So that's very good advice. I think a lot of times people get caught up on what they can't do or how people are going to view them, and so they won't even try. And so if you looking at, you know, Andrea, Amy, myself, if you just go out there and, you know, be responsible for your own personal development, even if someone doesn't help you, you can go ahead and start reading, learning, all on your own. And once they see what you have to offer, then the doors will open. So ladies, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out to speak with us and giving everyone a glimpse in women in leadership. I know, Amy, there aren't very many general managers in the United States. I think you may be the only one woman general manager in the United States. So that's an inspiration for me. And Andrea, as I told you before, you're like the boss lady. So I want to thank you so much for taking time out, and Convergent Nation, thank you for joining us today.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Shamika. I enjoyed being here. Have a great day, everybody.
What inspired me to join a committee for Convergent Women Connect was my experience outside of Convergent with ASIS and our Women in Security group here locally. I realized that I've gotten so much out of that in my career and broadening my network that I had an even greater opportunity internally at Convergent.
And I've met some amazing and truly inspirational women on this awesome journey, and may it continue.
To empower women, not just myself, but to empower women within Convergent. That is such a powerful feeling, to see a company who supports strong women in leadership and are willing to do whatever it takes to make that happen, right? To make us feel like we are just as important as anybody else.
It's very cool to know that you're a little part of something really big.
Hi everyone, my name is Katie Goodman, and I would like to introduce you to Ariba Tate, our new VP of Inclusion and Diversity. Ariba worked for Convergent for 18 years and he started as a specialist technician. His previous position was General Manager. Hi Ariba, how are you?
Hey Katie, how's it going today?
I'm great, thank you. So let's get started. So my first question for you is, why I&D and not D&I as it's usually referred to?
It's not uncommon for the words diversity and inclusion to be used interchangeably. We wanted to be intentional about the sequence of the term inclusion and diversity, as we firmly believe that you cannot truly establish nor sustain diversity without inclusion. While diversity serves as a measure of difference, inclusion is to the extent to which diverse groups have a seat at the table and are able to bring their best contributions. I think Dan Masseri put it best when he said, if he could get all the Convergent colleagues in one room, he felt like we could literally solve any of the world's problems. Well, that's the ultimate goal, to get all the voices to the table and leverage those unique perspectives for innovation and developing solutions to the challenges we face.
Great. What does it mean to have an inclusion workplace?
So when I think of an inclusive workplace, there's really three key relationships. One is with the organization as a whole. It's when the organization serves as allies to help colleagues achieve their goals. Another is your local leadership. It's when leaders systematically build and mentor their teams, treats them fairly, solicits input, and demonstrates concern for their well-being. And lastly is the peer group. It's when your peers serve as allies. They help you achieve your goals and treat you with respect.
Thank you. What's the business case for I&D?
So when it comes to the business case, there's some very impressive statistics that have been published related to I&D initiatives. According to Deloitte, diverse companies enjoy 2.3 times higher cash flow per employee. Gartner found that inclusive teams improve team performance by up to 30% in high diversity environments. In a BCG study, companies with diverse management teams had a 19% increase in revenue compared to their less diverse counterparts. But more importantly for Convergent, the inclusion of colleagues is key. We don't make any products. We're an organization of people as our sole resource. We're 5,000 plus strong of talented and dedicated professionals. So the business case for us is simple. By fostering a welcome and fair environment for all employees to be themselves, find connection and meaningfully contribute, we'll strengthen our culture and overachieve in all aspects of our business.
Thank you. Thank you, Aruba. My last question for you is, what I&D objective are you actively working on?
So there are several key initiatives that I'm actively working on, or as you mentioned, objectives. One of the big objectives is the I&D Council formation. So applications recently poured in, and we are now going through those and selecting who will make up that I&D Council body of 12 members. So that'll be announced on March 1st, and will certainly push the initiative forward, with that team also aiding me in putting a focus on inclusion and diversity. Another big thing about inclusion and diversity, or maybe one of the major things, is listening. So a survey will be going out related to inclusion, diversity, and equity, and that'll be dispersed company-wide on March 22nd. Also, we'll be having frontline meetings that'll consist of Ken Lociato, myself, Sean Flint, and others, speaking to select groups from CTCs and just making it conversational to get an understanding from the front line of ways that we can improve, and also get their input on various initiatives that we have in place. And lastly, we'll be doing some leadership training for our senior leadership teams and also the management teams to help support them in diverse hiring practices and to be more effective leaders as it relates to the inclusion initiative.
Wow, this was very interesting. I look forward to seeing all the ideas taking place during this year. Thank you for your time, Aruba.
You're more than welcome. Thanks.
This year, I'm on the Day in the Life Committee, and so this year I'm really looking forward to all of our Day in the Life webinars we have planned, so one each quarter. And the Day in the Life Committee is working on a very exciting new initiative that we're going to roll out shortly.
One of the biggest things I'm looking forward to is getting more involved in the mentor program as a mentor and a mentee.
With the help of Women Connect, I hope more and more colleagues would know about Women Connect and what value they can get from this organization.
I know just from our committee, Day in the Life, we have so many things that we're going to showcase in our webinars the whole year. I'm super excited that there are more committees forming and more networking opportunities. So I think it's going to be a really great year for Convergent Women Connect.
Wow, what a great event. I want to thank Jen Hildner, the Convergent Women Connect Steering Committee, the marketing team, and all those who contributed to make today happen. We appreciate the support of Ken, Yoruba, and the leadership team. We're so fortunate to have Shamika, Amy, and Andrea share their experiences. Just what a great day. Today, we took steps in alignment with our values and beliefs to communicate with each other, to create a positive working environment, to create a forum for continuous improvement, including training and mentoring, and to deliver results, period. I am inspired to participate in Convergent Women's Connect, and I hope that you will be encouraged to use Women's Connect as a resource, to give back to your fellow colleagues, and to share ideas on how Women's Connect can better serve you, the women of Convergent. Women's Connect can facilitate mentoring, problem solving, and networking. One of my favorite highlights this last year was participating in one of the Day of the Life installments. I can't wait for more of them. Keep on the lookout for additional Women's Connect initiatives that we'll be launching this year. Let's keep aspiring to make Convergent one of the best places to work, period. Thank you, Convergent Nation, and stay safe.